What's up, family? How y'all doing? It's your girl, Dr. Shonna, and you guys know if I come on live, it's because I have something to say. It's been a while since I left you guys, but guess what? I am back. I got my notes. Oh, you see all them notes, right? I suggest you ladies and gentlemen go get a pen and paper because we're about to have a real conversation, and I want you guys to also be able to go back and fact check everything I say. Don't take my word for it. I know some of you guys are going to be in your feelings, or should I say in your bag. You're going to be mad. You're going to be frustrated. Some of you all, not all of you are, not all of you guys, but for those who are upset, I'm sorry. I respectfully say that is none of my concern. You need to be able to just listen to various opinions. You need to be able to do your own research. You need to be able to take down notes so you can cross-check and cross-reference and then draw your own conclusions. But it doesn't mean you have to get emotional and get mad. So those who are going to get emotional and get mad, as you can see, I have my moderators on live, Gwen, Dwayne, and everybody else who's about to come on live. Y'all know what the deal is. People can have respectful opinions, but when they start getting disrespectful, the only thing we're going to do is block, ban, and delete them. Get rid of them. It's as simple as that. I am so happy to be back because I have put out some very triggering posts. You know, anytime I talk about Joe the Bigot Biden, and I put out some posts about that man, it gets people so upset. And the arguments they always have is the same tired ass arguments that our people have had for generations. And let me tell you, people, let me tell your family, you can't be wrong and strong. You cannot be wrong and strong. And for those of you guys that know what that means, y'all know where I'm from. BX all day, stand up every day. Y'all know I'm from the Bronx. So I'm not a stranger to terminologies that we use. And so I'm going to say to my B1 family who are in their feelings, who are in their bag, you cannot be wrong and strong. Truth is what truth is, and facts are what facts are. And just because you in your bag and just because you are in your emotions doesn't mean the facts disappear. It doesn't mean the truth turns into a lie. So we're going to talk about what the truths are, you know, because y'all know I'm here for it tonight. Look at Nina Knight. What's up, Nina? Nina says, screw them. Y'all know I am here for it tonight. If I come on live, it's because I got something to say, and we have to have a critical thought conversation. A critical thought conversation. So I want to say hello to all my moderators. I want to say hello to all my people in the chat room. Look at my community members. What's up, Blue Peonies? Hearts and love to you too. I want to say what's up to all my community members. And as I see your name, I will give you guys a personal shout out. Hello to everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. What's up, Cedric Bland? How you doing? Peace, blessings, and love to you too. Everyone, it's Friday, so I'm glad. Look at, we got 138 people in this room. Let's get it more up on a Friday night because y'all ain't got nothing better to do. Y'all not at my house at the bar. We ain't having a party. I already did my party for the month. No more partying for me in my house because I don't like people in my furniture in my house, right? So no more partying here, but we're going to have a little party. So y'all can go ahead and get your libations in your own house. Get your libations, get your pen, get your paper, because y'all going to take some notes. Y'all going to do some homework because we're about to have the real truth. Somebody said Dr. Shonna X. Listen, baby, come on now. Dr. Shonna X. I'll take it every day, all day. I'm here to tell the truth. Share the video. What's up, Sir Will the Thrill? How you doing, Sir Will? Sir Will, I'm going to give you a wrench. You could be a moderator because you are faithful. You are so faithful on Instagram and everything else. Share the video, family. Subscribe to the page. Subscribe to the page. And of course, give me your thumbs up. I know I'm already going to get some thumbs down, but that's okay because you guys have been bamboozled. You can give me the thumbs down as well. As long as your asses are interacting on the page, that's all that matters. Boop, you've been tricked. The algorithms work on my favor. Whoop, whoop. Let's go ahead and get started. So the title of this video is Let's talk about what Joe Biden, Dr. Jane Elliott, and the Black community have in common. Now, I know some people are probably wondering, why did you put all of that in one sentence? They all belong in that sentence, baby. We're going to have that conversation. Shout out to Mark Mitchell, another community member. She said, get it going, Doc, or he said, get it going, Doc. I'm getting going in that right now. Let me let you know what we all have in common. Let's start with Joe, the bigot Biden. I know the baby boomers are mad. Ooh, you're mad. Well, it's the less of two evils. When we got to vote for somebody, we got to get this president out the chair. Oh, Lord, we got to vote. That's what you guys do all the time. So we're going to talk about this. First of all, the controversy in the news right now with that man. I mean, that man, he is no different than other presidents who have come before him. And we're going to go over those presidents today. But he's doing the same thing historically that many people in the Democratic Party has done toward Black people. And we keep, as Black people, making concessions. We are always forgiven. I mean, we are some funny ass people, strange ass people. We constantly make excuses for bad ass behavior. And I don't understand why I do understand clinically, because we're going to get into the clinical aspect tonight. Clinically, I understand why we make excuses for badass behavior and badass people. I understand it. But we must stop this. Joe, the bigot Biden, has stated that the Latino community, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, is diverse like no other. Do you hear me? He said the Latino community, unlike the African American community with notable exceptions, is diverse like no other. Now, you know, when Joe the bigot Biden comes on and says some dumb shit like that, you guys already know that, especially those of us who are fighting for the cause, who is constantly pointing out truth and facts, we're going to be on his ass and anybody else's ass like white on rice. So of course, we got on his ass. And what does he do? Like almost all white people in his position do? They backtrack. And not only white people in his position, historically, when you get on a white person's ass about their implicit bias and their implicit racism, when you get up on their ass, almost all of them backtrack their words. So that's what he does, because the Democratic Party is keen on public relations. I'm going to prove that to you guys later. All right. Just stay in here. Just stay in here with me. We got an hour on the show. Y'all can do it. Y'all know I'm giving y'all real information and I'm going to keep y'all awake. Just stay here. And I'm going to show you how keen they are on public relations. The first thing that they did was have this dude go back and backtrack his statements. And he comes on, he says that he doesn't want to suggest that the African American community is a monolith. He has witnessed diversity of thought, background, and sentiments within the African American community. He says diversity in the workplace and communities and in our country makes a better place. So if you already knew that, allegedly, why would you come on and say that the Latino community is more diverse than a Black community? Why would you say that? See, if you guys recall, thank you for that donation, Sid. I appreciate that. If you understand what has been happening, and I did a video on this when I broke down the population. African Americans is about 13.5 to 14% of the population. Hispanics, and if I'm not mistaken, the numbers are like 18%. If I'm not mistaken, it might be 16%, but it's 18%, if I'm not mistaken, of the population. So they know that we are up in arms because we got one goddamn thing on the table. And y'all already know what that is, B1 family. Y'all already know what that is, ADOS family. Y'all already know what that is, FBA family. Y'all already know what it is. I don't care what you call yourself. Y'all already know the one thing we got on the goddamn table that we are requesting that they take a stance on and move on it is what, family? Is what? Right? Tangibles. Reparations. That's right. There you go, family. Cut the check. That is the only thing on the table. So you got to understand a political chess move. You got to understand the political chess move. If they can get from the Hispanic population the votes that those of us are saying you ain't getting no goddamn vote unless you cut the goddamn check. If they can replace our votes, they're going to do just that. And they've been trying to replace our votes. For those of us that saying F you, no vote unless you take a stance. No vote. Cut the check. Reparations. Tangibles. They know we exist. They hear us every day. And we annoy the hell out of people. And you know the internet done effed up by giving us access to the Ethernet cord that we put into our system so that we can get fast internet and we can disseminate this information across the globe. I got people all over the world that listen to me. They done messed up when they gave us an opportunity to get on YouTube, to get on Facebook, to get on to any other platform and get into the minds of the people by educating them or re-educating them. They done fucked up when they gave us that opportunity. Now, we know this, you know this, I know this, we all know this. Peace, Ramsey. Shout out to you, Creole Sheila. How you guys doing? Somebody said, what did Jane Elliott do? Creole Sheila, I'm getting there. Just be with me, sister. Just be on there with me. We're going to get on there, all right? We're going to get there. But let me tell you something. They're playing games. That's right. Somebody said, give us our bag. Give us our money bag. We're not playing no games. So what they're trying to do is appeal to the Latino population to get those votes that they need to replace both of us, all of us that are saying, cut the goddamn check. Because they know we are not afraid to withhold our vote. See, people in this community, and I'm going to tell you why you're like that. For the people in the community to say, oh, no, we got to vote for the lesser of the two evils. Oh, no, no vote means a vote for Trump. Oh, Lord, my mercy. Our people done for us to vote. Good Lord. Good Lord. What are y'all doing? Oh, Father. We're going to talk about those people who have obvious and notable mental illnesses. Yes, that is a mental illness. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. But let me tell you something. He had to backtrack his words. Thank you for that donation, Mark Mitchell. He said, Joe Biden, oh, you forgot the bigot. Joe the bigot Biden is the same old soup warmed over. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about the same old soup. We're going to talk about, I got all the presidents that I want y'all to look up that we have been putting on pedestals, even to the point of praying, publicly praying with 60,000 people, quiet, publicly praying in Harlem in the 1940s. Oh, come on. We're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about it today. So y'all got to understand the truth. Y'all got to understand the truth. All right? He backtracks his statement. Y'all getting me excited right now. He backtracks his statement. And he says the Latino community is incredibly diverse. This is the statement that he said that got us hot. The Latino community is incredibly diverse with incredibly different attitudes about different things. So we not. So we all think the same. We all in group think. He know goddamn well that we are not in group think. For crying out loud, there's people on this page right now that is divided from us. And y'all know what I mean when I say us. Just because we have the same skin don't mean we in the same group. Don't mean we in the same planning community. Don't mean we in the same school, we in the same building, we in the same family. Let's not get it twisted. Let's not get it twisted. When I say stand up, be one family, they know who the hell I'm talking to. When I say stand up, ADOS family, they know who the hell I'm talking to. When I say stand up, ADOS family, they know who I'm talking to. Stop playing with me. Stop playing. We are not all the same. We are not all the same. So exactly, Lotus. Come on, we're not the same. And I don't even get on here to cape for certain people. You ain't never gonna find me caping for everybody that's black. No, you ain't gonna find me do that, because I know that the same person I cape for will be the same person that stabbed me and my mother got there in black back. Got me lying out on the floor, won't even call the cops. Take my cell phone so anybody that come on won't even be able to use my phone to call the cops. Right? But they're going to turn around and make a statement. He's going to turn around and make a statement like we're all the same, and then try to backtrack it. Oh no, baby, it's already out here. But let me tell you, even though he made that statement and it is already out there, it's not going to matter for those of them in this community. And I'm not saying those of us, because we're not a us. We're not. Those of them in this community that share the melanin that we share, have the ancestry that we share in terms of our DNA, but they don't care. They will make concessions. They will put a bigot and a racist on a platform. They will be okay with it. They won't ask for nothing. Some of them think the conversation of reparation is so far-fetched, it ain't gonna happen. Some of them think that, come on, we could talk about reparations later. Let's just get them into office and then we'll talk about reparations. Those type of people are not the people whom I'm speaking to. Let's just be real. Those kind of people are not the people that identify as B1. They're just not. Let's just be real. Right? Let's just be real. Those are the kind of people historically, who have accepted crumbs, scraps, and pennies and says, well, at least somebody gave us something. Those are the people historically who are afraid of fighting back. Those are the people historically who are afraid of being disliked. Those are the people historically that look for validation from the white man. Those are not the people I'm talking to. Now, they're going to be on here. They're going to be watching. That's okay. You can watch all you want. And you can watch how we move in 2020. Watch that with the camera. Right? The Enlightened Kid. What's up? Shout out to my community member, the Enlightened Kid. He says, that is my frat brother and I want to strangle him. Who's your frat brother? Joe the Bigot Biden is your fat brother? Oh, you probably saying who I'm making fun of is your fat brother. Mark Mitchell, shout out to Mark Mitchell, one of my community members. He says, I tried to call Biden something else, but YouTube wouldn't let me send it. Listen, let me tell you something. This is the second time in a matter of months that Joe the Bigot Biden has had to backtrack his statements. And for some reason, those people that share the same melanin that we have, that I'm talking about, is okay with it. They are okay with it. There is something mentally wrong, and I'm going to give you guys the phrase of what is mentally wrong with them, but there's something mentally wrong when you are okay with this man making disparaging remarks, making demeaning remarks, making remarks that highlight his implicit bias, and you are okay with it. Listen, they're all racist. Let's just be honest. Even Jane Elliott, and she admits to being racist. Shout out to Creole Sheila. Thank you for that donation. They are all races, right? So I'm not going to act like I'm asking somebody who's not a racist to get in the chair. At this point, the KKK leader can be in a chair as long as his ass give me reparations. Period. Period. Because at the end of the day, it's either you're going to have somebody who is explicit in their bias or implicit, meaning somebody who is outright a racist or somebody who's internally a racist. At the end of the day, they are both as harmful. And to be honest with you, I think the one that's worse is the one that is implicit, the one that has it within them but doesn't like to display it. I think they are worse because you could be shaking hands with the same enemies that will shake your hand and turn around and go into his KKK meeting and still have a cop shoot you and kill you and there'd be no problem. Let's just really talk about it. Let's just really talk about it. But this is the second time he backtracked these statements. Remember when he was on the Breakfast Club and the remark that he made, highly inappropriate and disrespectful, was if you're struggling with choosing between Trump and Biden, then you ain't black. Really? Really? But for some reason, people in our community that look like us, they in our family, they might be like second and third cousins, you know, the distant relatives, the fourth cousins, you know, they're distant relatives. They look like us, you know, but they ain't of us. They're okay with these kind of statements. Well, I don't know why y'all getting caught up on that. This man was President Obama's VP and he's all right by me. If he was racist, do you think he would be President Obama's VP? It's like the stupidest things I hear. What's critical in that thought? What's critical in that discussion? Are you serious? What's up, Water Sniper? What's up to the intellectual gang? What's up to the gang of critical thinkers? How y'all doing? Right? But they're okay. The second time he made that statement is this is the second time he made the statement about us in terms of the Latinos being more diverse. But if we go back into his history, and it really doesn't matter. I guess it really doesn't matter for those people who, you know, like to turn a bad eye or a blind eye on bad behavior. But if you go back into his history, even before the crime bill, he was a segregationist. He was not trying to integrate his community in Delaware. But see, people say, well, you keep bringing up old stuff. That's old stuff. Why are you still on that old stuff? People evolve. People change. Where did they get these statements from and these belief systems from? How many of you guys in this room right now was born in the 60s? Because they're saying this is old stuff. How many of you guys was born in the 60s? Right? Come on, let's just be honest. How many were born in the 60s on this channel right now? Thank you, Mark Mitchell. Thank you, Mark Mitchell. So if Mark Mitchell is alive and he was born in the 60s and Gwendolyn was born in 1955, and Mr. Pirate Brain was born in the 60s, and Denise was born in the 60s, and Amiss was born in the 50s, and Leah Glisson was born in the 60s, and Zanae F was born in the 60s, and April M was born in 55. Come on, how is that a long time ago? Like, why do we make these kind of statements? Thank you for that, Truth Told. That's one of my community members. Why would we make those kind of statements and say it was a long time ago to get over it? It's the craziest thing I've ever heard of in my life. So somebody who is that strong in his position, y'all just want us to ignore it. Thank you for that donation, Frankie. Right? I'm glad you was able to catch my live. Thank you for that donation. I really appreciate that. Right? Truth Told said he was born in 61. But people are saying that's a long time ago. Shout out to Mark Mitchell. It's not a long time ago. And here's the thing that bogs me. It's the most bizarre thing. And I'm telling you guys, just stick with me tonight because I'm going to tell you, clinically speaking, what's happening with a lot of people in our community. I want you to know. You got to understand when there's a mental disorder that's going on. And I'm not talking about Stockholm Syndrome. I'm not talking about cognitive dissonance. It's a word that we don't seem to explore when it comes to the relationship between us and political people who are white or who classify as white. Can y'all guess? Can y'all guess what word I'm going to introduce y'all to tonight? And it's not even introduce, I'm going to reintroduce y'all to tonight. Can y'all guess? Can y'all guess the clinical word that I'm going to address tonight that's clearly a disorder in our community? No, it's not denial. Just keep on thinking, family. It ain't denial. It ain't denial. We know it. We know what's happening. We're not in denial about what is happening. Absolutely not. No MP Xavier. It's not conditioning. It's not conditioning, even though those two words are very prominent. Shout out to Frank Unell, who said he was born in the 60s. Oh, I'm sorry, in 92. With Frank Unell, you're going to be learning. You're going to be learning tonight. No, it's not PTSD. It's not fair. Somebody said liberalism. Frankie, no. But y'all going to see tonight. Y'all going to be like, oh, shit, that make a lot of sense. That's what y'all about to say tonight. But here's the thing that drives me crazy. Whether it is the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. No, it's not toxicity. It's not Stockholm Syndrome. It's not cognitive dissonance. I said besides those things. It's clearly abuse, but that's not the word I'm going to introduce tonight. But it doesn't matter. Both Joe the bigot Biden and Trump the racist, Donald the racist Trump, they both has made racist statements, right? And they're both calling each other out because of their racist statements. So I want you guys to just think about that in terms of this for right now. Nope, it's not gullible. It's not programmed. It's not Christian. It's not Christianity. It's not complacency. Y'all doing good. Thank y'all for keep thinking about it, right? Keep on thinking about it, y'all. Because when I hit y'all with it, y'all gonna be like, holy shit. Oh, Lord. And maybe the people that be getting mad at me when I be pointing this stuff out, maybe they'll be like, oh, yeah, shit, that might be me. Whoever said addiction, Lisa Booker, you're very close. You're very close, Lisa. You are very close. Oh, yes, you are hot. Remember the game we used to play? When you get close to something, like, oh, you hot. You burning up. You burning up. You are hot. You are hot. All right? Let's get on to Jane Elliott, because somebody asked me in the chat room, well, what did Jane Elliott do? Now, I want to be able to say this. Let me be fair. I'm not mad at Jane Elliott. I'm not. I know you guys are mad, but give me a second because I'm going to, who said it? The beauty jock. Ooh, the beauty jock. You get 500 points, the beauty jock. Oh, yes. I wish I had something for you. Followed by Zen Davison. There you go. There go Pretty Nikki. Go ahead, y'all. Go ahead, y'all. That's right. I needed y'all to think. I needed y'all to think. Oh, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Let me tell you about Jane Elliott. We got to talk about that. I know y'all mad at Jane Elliott. I am not mad at Jane Elliott. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, why I am not mad at Jane Elliott. See, you got to understand, when you got a platform, we have an audience that we speak to. So all the people who want to argue with me about stupid stuff that I don't care about. And they probably think what I'm talking about is stupid, and that is fair. That's what you think. And the reason why you think what I'm talking about is stupid is because I'm not your audience and you are not mine. So I don't get offended when you don't like what I talk about. And when you talk about what you talk, I don't even see what you're talking about because you don't even got a platform. So I don't care. So anyway, as I was saying, those people are not in my audience. And even when they say something, I just skip over their dumbass comment and I go on to somebody like one pimp afro, and I say, yes, not dependency, but codependency. That's our magic word. Write that down on your paper, codependency, right? So the people who want to come on here and get mad at the things that I say, I don't get offended that they're mad. And I don't care. I just look at them as mentally ill, because why would you listen to somebody that's going to make you mad? Really think about it psychologically. Really think about it. If what I say pisses you off to the point where you want to write me 30-page letters, like I'm going to read any of that shit, and we're on social media. If your paragraph is more than 5 sentences, you next. I'm not even reading your shit. I ain't got that kind of time on my hands to read your shit. If you send me an email and it's like 500 pages long, do you really think I'm going to read it? Especially when it starts off all wrong. Now, if it starts off supporting and loving and caring, I'm going to read it. And I'm actually going to respond. I'm going to say, thank you so much. I understand. And when you say, can you tell me more about this? I'm going to respond. I'm going to engage with you. But when you write me some dumb shit and the energy is just all wrong, I just realized that my message is not for you. So the only thing I do with your email, your inbox, your comment is delete. Get your energy out of here and go to a page where your voice matters. Your voice don't matter here. Because the only voices that matter here are my audience. So if you're in the B1 family, if you're in the ADOS family, if you're in the FBA family, and the only thing we screaming is tangibles, cut the goddamn check and reparations, and your voice matters here. If you ain't talking that, your voice don't matter here. Your kumbaya voice don't matter here. Your love everybody voice don't matter here. I'm just going to pray on it and Jesus going to fix it. That voice don't matter here. I'm just being honest with you. Your voice don't matter here. Right? So if that's what you do, why would you even listen to me? Just like the stupid idiot that says, I think you're kind of stupid. That stupid idiot right there, I think you're actually mentally ill. Because if you think I'm stupid, you must be stupid for listening to somebody who's stupid. Right? Is that reason why your voice don't matter here? And I just use you as an example to prove the mental illness that exists with people out there. Because I listen to nobody who I find crazy or stupid or ignorant. I don't listen to those people. They don't get my energy because my time is valuable. Right? So let's talk about Jane Elliott. First of all, she was featured on a podcast by Socks and Sandals, and it was their episode 150 called Off White. It was called Off White. And let's talk about the solid facts that Jane Elliott pointed out. She said, racism is a very lucrative program. I think we can all agree with that. She said, voters need to be educated on what is happening. You know, I agree with that, obviously, but voters don't like to be educated. They like to go like robots, voting box, and just pull the ballot for the person that they're conditioned to like. They don't know nobody underneath the president. They're like, well, who this person? Who's running for judge? Who's running for sheriff? I don't know. I'm just going to go Democrat all the way down, right? Right? She said voters need to be educated on what's happening. Facts. Agree with you. She said we have to fix the system. Facts. Re-educate the educators. Facts. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to re-educate the educators. And they're even mad at us. They're even mad at some of them come on. They're not mad. They're right on board. But then there are others who just get angry because they're conflicted. They're conflicted because they have not thought about who they are. They have not realistically thought about their history. in their history in this country, they have not thought about why they have next to no wealth. They haven't thought about it. They haven't thought about even though they are educators, when they have children in the public schools, their children are discriminated against as well. And I have a lot of educators in my circle. Y'all know I'm Z Phi B. Y'all know I'm Zeta Phi Beta. I have a lot of educators in my circle, and their children get discriminated against too. But they haven't thought about that, right? Not all, I'm saying too many have not. So we have to re-educate the educators. Thank you so much for that donation, Malia Liddy, Miller Liddy. First time catching a live. I appreciate your content and I appreciate you, right? What else did she say? She said, re-educate the people who make the law. We are all one race, but different colors. So even though that makes people upset, if you understand race, then you'll understand that race is a social construct. Race was invented by no other than the white man, right? I know people get mad at me, but prove me wrong. Don't get in your feelings. Don't get in your bag with all your emotions, because I don't care about your emotions. Prove me wrong. Race is a social construct developed by a white man for the purpose of gaining control and power and subduing peoples of color. That's all it is. And so when she says there's one race, that's the human race, and different colors, it's a fact. She didn't tell a lie about that, right? Scientifically, it's a fact. She also said that she uses, see, here's where it starts getting very important, that we have to really start to think critically and read in between the lines. And this is the reason why right here, this is the reason why I'm not mad at her. I'm not mad at Jane Elliott. You heard it from Dr. Shonna right now. Dr. Shonna is not mad at Dr. Jane Elliott for this reason right here. She says she uses her age, her gender, her skin color to talk to white people about their behaviors. Audience. Everything is about audience. Just like I said to you in this portion of this show, when I introduced the concept of what Jane Elliott said, I said we have to know audience. So even though a lot of people watch me, not everyone is my audience. I don't care if my audience is one person, then I got the message across to who I'm speaking to. So I'm not going to waste my time debating with people who are not my audience. I'm not going to waste my time debating with people who's not my target. I'm not going to waste my time debating with people who do not understand why the Black family unit is important in building wealth. I'm not going to waste my time to debate with people who do not understand why we have to be independent and stop with the codependency. I'm not going to waste my time for people who do not understand why we cannot be dependent on a system who has kicked us in our back repeatedly. I don't waste my time with those kind of folks. Even in my community wall, when I post about my business classes that I have, or my relationship classes that I have, that you can get right here through this channel by joining the actual channel through a membership, when I talk about it, those posts get the least response. And that's okay. Because for those posts, you're not my target audience. And the people who are not my target audience, they get mad and they respond. Well, money isn't everything, Dr. Shonna. Well, let's see if money isn't everything. Let's really look at what's happening in this country right now. For how many people are still out of work? And how many people who are getting evicted? And how many people where their unemployment $600 has ceased to exist? And how many people still don't qualify for food stamps but don't have enough money to buy food because the food prices are going up? So those people that come onto my posts, when I post about business for those of the people who are joining my business class to learn about how to increase their revenue. When they get mad at me about posting, you're just not my audience, not for that segment. And it doesn't matter, because it's those people that say money that don't matter are those same goddamn people that's struggling. It's always the people that struggle that says it doesn't matter. Throw my hands up. Thank you so much for that donation, sister. Alexis Chancellor, she says, I'm 32 and I really appreciate your channel. You give so much knowledge and you're real with the hits with the young, and it hits with the younger generation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, right? Those are the same people. Oh, money don't matter. You're not my population. You're not who I'm talking to. Go rest your head somewhere. Jump off the curb. Right? So with Jane Elliott, where she said she uses her gender, her skin color, and her age to talk to white people about their behaviors, I can't get mad at her. I can't get, see, the problem is we as a community, we keep putting these people on pedestals. We as a community, we keep trying to overlook the facts that work against us, because the little bit of facts that work in our favor, we want to uphold. Now, I'm not telling you don't listen to Jane Elliott's podcast or her statements that she made or any articles or interviews. I'm not telling you don't listen to them. Just like I'm not telling you not to listen to Dr. Robin DiAngelo. I'm not telling you not to listen to them either. I listen to everybody, but I listen to them with the understanding that I am not their audience. Thank you for that donation, Sid. He said, we are excited about you coming to the African American Network. Yes, I got to tell the people about the African American Network. I will. I'm definitely going to tell them before tonight. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for that donation, Jamel. I appreciate that. Right? That's right, Ayana. Cut the damn check. And that's the problem, Ayana. We get so caught up when people don't agree with us. We get so upset and so mad when people who let us know that we are not their target population. We get so upset when we ask the question and they give us their true feelings. Now we're mad. I don't get mad at Jane Elliott or people like her, right? So let's go on. Here's the key statements that Jane Elliott made in that interview on the Socks and Sandals podcast that we have to really pay attention to. These are the key statements that got my attention. And those are the key statements I said to myself, she's telling us exactly how she really feels. So why are people shocked and mad? And if you listen to any of her interviews, you know, outside of the Socks and Sandals interview, if you listen to them, she says the same thing all the time. She says the same, and she's not changing her message. So we have to look at those things and really understand what her key points are. But I'm going to tell you what her key points are right now. Here's the key points. She brought up the marchers, where she was asked the question by one of the members of this podcast about what was different in her time than what's happening right now. She brought up the marchers, and she was talking about how the marchers, they get it, and they know that we're all one race, and they know that we're all fighting for the same thing. We're not all fighting for the same thing. So you got to understand languages like that. You got to understand when people make statements like that, they're telling you something. They're telling you something that we keep ignoring. Here's the Swedish. I got to point out the Swedish House statement, because I can see the Swedish House wants attention. So let's give us some attention. First of all, the fact that your name is Swedish House Boss tells me something, number one. And then the fact that you have like this feminist symbol. See, I got to point out how you must know who's your audience. You got a feminist symbol, not my audience, clearly not my audience. And you say Trump is a racist. Biden will save the USA. You clearly don't understand history. You clearly do not know history. And that is the most ignorant statement I've heard thus far tonight. And maybe because yours is one of like 10 statements that I read. So it's the most ignorant that I heard. And you're on the wrong page. It's just that simple. But I get it. I'm addicted. You like my personality. I understand that. Right? See, I told you. See how I know how to point. I know how to point them out. That's why I love it. So moderators, do her the favor and delete her. You see? She says, okay, so this is a damn Uncle Tom stream. Bye, losers. Again, you don't do your history. Because obviously, Uncle Tom was actually trying to help the Black people. But people don't do their history. They don't do their research. And they just take the little snippets of propaganda that's put out there and they run with it. If you really read the book of Uncle Tom's Cabin, Riri, you will understand that Uncle Tom was actually trying to help people. Get your dumb ass out of here. You see what I'm talking about? That's why you gotta know your audience. I love pointing out people who's not in my audience. Who's next? Who's next? Right? Thank you, Water Sniper, for getting Swedish out of here. People don't know the history. But Dr. Shonna is here for you. I'm going to give you some history. Get your pen and paper. Take your notes. All right? She brought up the marches. So the first thing for me, the reason why that caught my attention, because if you're bringing up the marchers, I'm not saying that the marchers are not important, but the marchers, I'm not their audience and they're not mine, because they're not marching for reparations. They're not marching to get policies passed specifically for Black people. They're not marching. They're on this kumbaya march and they're tearing shit up. And I'm like, I'm supporting you from a distance, but you're not my audience and I'm not your audience. But the fact that it's her audience is because it's in line with her statement. She wants this kumbaya thing going on. And it's really in line with her statement. Miss Fitz says, what book? It's called Uncle Tom's Cabin. If you read that book, you will understand why people, they misquote the Uncle Tom's thing. But you know, you got to read the book to understand that. But people don't like to read the book. They just like to say what they hear other people say. And 9 out of 10 times what other people say is not even factual. That's why so much propaganda and lies get spreaded, because people don't like to read. So if you read that book, you'll get it. But nonetheless, the marchers, I'm not the audience. Here's another key pack. She says, we have to plug the holes. And when she was talking about plugging the holes, this is Jane Elliott. For the people who are joining on now, I'm talking about Jane Elliott in her interview with Socks and Sandals. When she was talking about plugging the holes, she pointed out we have to fix a broken system, because the system is considered holes in a ship. And she's saying, because we're not plugging these holes, because we're not fixing these holes, the ship is sinking. And the holes that she was pointing out was on economics. Key factor. You guys need to circle the word economics. Hold on 1 second. Are you in bed? You guys have to circle the word economics. And she pointed out one of the holes that need to be plugged is economics. The second hole she said that needs to be plugged is labor. The third hole she said needs to be plugged is government. So she is aware that the economic disparities in this country is a problem. She is aware that the labor industry, including the pay that Blacks get paid in comparison to whites, is a problem. She is aware that the government, mass incarceration, and other policies that actually harm us, she is aware of these things and how it is damaging to our community. Right? So if you're not listening with the critical ear for understanding, you're going to get so excited about the stuff that she's saying. You're going to be like, that's right, Jane Elliott. That's right, Jane. I like Jane. She one cool white girl. I like Jane Elliott. I get it. I get it. She for the people. She's a friend. She's an ally. You're going to start saying these kind of things because you're not listening with a critical ear. She's very much aware of our plight. She's very much aware of what we're going through. but she's pushing her agenda and she's not listening to ours. So her agenda is getting everyone on board that we're all one race. Dr. J. Elliott, we get that. We understand that we are all part of the human race, but it doesn't change the fact that the hue in our skin is discriminated against. You can get people to accept that we're all part of the human race, but it's not going to erase the fact that people do see color and people do discriminate on color. It's not going to erase that, right? She understands what our issues are. So why would you be against reparations for us? If you understand our issues is economic, including the wealth gap, economics, including failing school systems in our communities, economics, including substandard living conditions, high rents, low wages. If you understand this, why would you be against reparations for us? If you understand when it comes to labor, we are one of the most educated populations. And I know a lot of people out there says we are the most educated. That's not true. So you got to think about stats. We're only 14% of the population. So obviously the majority of the population is going to have more education than us. But, you know, our people, we like to spread that's not supported by stats. And I'm not busting anybody's bubble. We are very educated, but we are not the most educated. So that is a fact, but that's a whole nother conversation. If you know that we are one of the most educated people in this country, and we still do not get our equal pay and what we are worth, why would you be against reparations for us? If you understand that the government has systematic policies that strategically discriminate against our population of people, it's called race neutral policies. And I talked about this before. So the people that are not aware of my channel, then you need to go back and watch some of my videos where I really break down race neutral policies and how it harms us, how it actually harms us. And the people that have been following me for a while, you know what I say, they always put the cake out there and everybody get their slices of cakes and they leave us the crumbs for policies that allegedly we're supposed to be included on. So if she knows these things, why would you be against reparations? But I'm not mad at her. Right? Somebody said, did she say that? I'm shocked. You see, that truth told, my community member, yes, she did say that. And if you listen to the whole 1 hour and 20-minute podcast and you take notes, I wish I could get up and go get my notes from the table. I got maybe 10 pages. I manually dictated the whole entire interview so I can make sure I was capturing what she said. She did say that. I'm getting to her statement for right now. But what I'm saying to is she pointed out all the holes. And she said the holes won't be fixed until we kill ignorance, which is a fact. But her ignorance that she's talking about is that we are one race. We are one race. And she's saying until we see each other as one race and seeing each other as our 30th removed cousins, until we start seeing that we're all one family and we all originated from Africans, and that's how it started. Until we see that, nothing is going to change. That sounds nice. White people know this. White people are the ones, in addition to our people, who have done the studies. They have examined the DNA of the oldest bones found. They know this. They have studied DNA. They can trace back historical DNA. They know that we're all of one race, but that's not going to change it. You can talk about being one race all you want, but in a country that was built on policies and laws, that's where we have to change it. That's where we have to change it. Here's another key fact that I want you to understand, that we're putting people like Dr. Jane Elliott, Dr. Robin DiAngelo, and others, we're putting them on these pedestals because we are the ones that are listening to them. Even though their message is not for us, we're not their audience. She made it very clear in plain English who her audience is. She says she uses her age, her sex, which is her gender, and her skin color to speak to white people about their behaviors. That is her population, her target audience that she's speaking to. But when asked about her exercises, her race-based exercises that she was doing, when asked about it and asked about how did her colleagues and white people receive her, did they support her, she said they didn't support her. She said her children were beaten, her parents lost their business, things were really bad. She lost her job. She said they didn't support her because they did not want to hear what she had to say. So even though her message is for them, they're not listening to her. Thank you for that donation, Rue. Thank you for that donation. The people who are listening to her is us. We are the ones who are listening to her. She also said that she knows that pale-faced women, that's her words that she's using, not mine. She said pale-faced women won't support her cause or the cause long term. She said they'll get in it for a year or 2 years, and then they're on to something else because it has to be popular for just that moment. So if they won't support her cause, who's supporting her cause? We are. It's our people that supported her cause. But we're not really listening to her message. We're really not paying attention to the dog whistles that are being set out there. Now, if you listen to some of her older interviews, she says that she's racist. And she says that she has to fight the racism in her every day. Go and listen. I've been following this woman for years. I follow a lot of scholars because that's what I do. I follow a lot of scholars. I'm not mad at her. I'm really not. But I understand her internal struggle. I understand her struggle with racism within herself and within her family. I understand her struggle when it comes to privilege. She knows her own struggle. She talks about it. But for some reason, we seem to overlook these things. And then we hear something, walaikum assalam, when we hear something that is very clear, and I'm giving a greeting to DJ Queen Champion. When we hear something that's very clear, for some reason, we plug our ears. We don't want to hear it. That's cognitive dissonance. We don't want to hear it. And here's the last thing that she said that I'm moving on to the things that we have in common with these three people. The last thing she said that I want to note here is she said pale-faced people, she's talking about white people, but you know, she doesn't like to use the word white because she said white is not a color and she's not white. She has color, whatever, you know. Okay, we're talking about those who classify by white, but I get her message. She said pale-faced people are scared because they are decreasing in size and they're scared that blacks are going to retaliate, right? Listen to what I'm saying. Remember what she said. Pale-faced people are scared because they are decreasing in size, meaning their population is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And they know eventually they're going to be outnumbered by people of color. That's the term that they like to use. Not my term, their term. I hate people of color term. I hate that POC term because I'm not a person of color. But nonetheless, you get what I'm saying? She also says that pale-faced people are scared because they believe that black people are going to retaliate, right? She said, but this won't end until pale-faced people go through what blacks go through all day, every day. Listen to what I'm saying. She's saying that they are afraid because their numbers are getting smaller and they are afraid that Black people are going to retaliate, although there is no research-based evidence that says that that is true. Now, y'all know, for the most part, we are one of the most caring people. We are, I mean, to our own detriment. To our own detriment. We would give a KKK member the shirt off our back and say, well, he was cold. We would give a Karen entry into our home and watch her kids and say, well, you know something, she said it when she was angry, and I've said things that was hurtful when I was angry too. And Jesus says for us to forgive and turn the other cheek. We are one of the most forgiven people on planet Earth. So I understand. Shout out to Blue Peonies. Shout out to Blue Peonies, another community member. I love to see my community members in the room, right? I understand why we hear these things and it doesn't click here. I understand. For her to say that Black people, white people, pale-faced people will not get it until they go through what Black people go through every day, all day. And for her to say that it won't be fixed until we plug the holes of economics, till we plug the holes of labor, and we plug the holes of what was the other one? The other hole? I give you guys government. For her to say these things and know that it won't be fixed until white people experience what we experience. But then to be against reparations. See, family, it's got to start lining up for us when we hear these things. What we're failing to realize is that these people get out here and they know exactly what to say to get our support and to get our attention. But if you listen to them long enough, they always telling themselves. I know many of you guys was brought up the same way I was, many of you guys. And my mom used to say, if you keep talking long enough, I'll be able to tell you're lying, right? We all know this. We all know if you allow them to speak long enough and they start getting comfortable and they start getting real comfortable around us, eating our food, doing a wobble with us, putting hot sauce in their bag, all the stupid, ignorant, implicit bias things that they do, all the microaggressions that they do, putting the hot sauce in their bag, doing the wobble with us, you know, saying brother, sister, right on, brother. One of the most ignorant, stupid crap that they can say. Oh, how would I look with my hair like Yola? You think my hair would look nice like if I got locks like you? Oh, how do you do those braids? You think I look nice with braids in my hair? All the stupid and implicit bias things that they say and the microaggressions that they say. If you listen long enough through all of that bullshit, you'll hear the truth. So I'm not mad at Dr. Jane Elliott for telling the truth. I'm not mad at her. Right? She says, we can solve the problem by talking about, this is where she got into the reparation thing. She said, we can solve. Now, the key word is solve. Underline that keyword and circle it. She said, we can solve the problem. Now, remember, the problem is government. The problem is economics. And the problem is the labor force. Amidst other things too, education, housing, we already know those are problems as well. Health, we already know those are problems too. She said, we can solve the problem by talking about the past, or we can do it by making payments to Black people. But you will have to pay the Native Americans first. So it's sort of like she caught herself. We can solve it by making payments to Black people, but she said just like that, but you have to first pay the Americans. You will have to pay them first. Now, Dr. Jane Elliott is a scholar, which would indicate that she met the threshold to be a scholar because the amount of research she has done in her area of expertise and by demonstrating her ability to do research. You don't make it to doctor standard unless you can demonstrate those abilities, right? We all know that. You don't make it to that standard unless you can demonstrate your ability to contribute to new thought processes, right? Through your research, studying the research, presenting something new, or clarifying or expanding on existing research. That's how you make it to that status. So for you to make that statement that we will have to give Native Americans reparations first, that concerns me. Because then that means you're not even paying attention to the fact that Native Americans have been given reparations in many forms. We got a new community member. What's up, Sheree? Thank you so much for joining. In many forms. In fact, I forget what tribe it is, but you know, you guys are researchers, right? I forget what tribe it is. But in most recent terms, I don't think it was the Sioux. It could have been the Sioux Indians. I'm not too sure. But they were given a while ago, back in the 80s. In the 80s, the 1980s. Now, I'm a 70s baby. So clearly, y'all know I'm only like 19 years old. So clearly, the 80s wasn't that long ago. But in the 80s, they were given a number, financial money, a number for land, and the tribal leaders and the scholars of their tribe turned down that land, the money for that land, for their land that they own, because they said their land was never for sale. You can research it. They said it was never for sale. And that money is still on the table. And now there are scholars, lawyers, and other prominent people within that tribe who is still in negotiations with the government in current day, in 2020, current day, still in negotiation. And now that land is worth billions of dollars because land accrues in interest, right? It over time is going to be worth more. And so now these natives are now coming to the table because now the land that they were given, the money is worth that much more now. So now they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with the money. Because what they don't want to do is have the government release the money in the form of checks, because there's so many of them that it'll be this much money by the time it gets to all the people on the reservation. And then that the people on the reservation are so incredibly poor. And what we know as researchers, what we know is that Native Americans and African Americans, their poverty run neck to neck. Look it up. Don't believe me? Do your own research. Our poverty runs neck to neck. They are living in some really bad conditions. I will never take that away from Native Americans. They are in bad conditions. And so what they're saying is, because we know if we give people whose poverty is so high, if we give them the money, it's going to be squandered. It's going to be spent, and they're still going to be poor. So we don't want to do that. So they're trying to come together before they take the money to see how they're going to use the money that's going to benefit the reservation as a whole. So for her to make that statement as a scholar, it's concerning to me. Now, I didn't even give you guys the whole breakdown. If you want me to give you the breakdown, that'll be another video. I can give y'all the whole goddamn breakdown from the different wars, you know, from the different treaties and laws that were put into place, like the Indian Removal Act. You got the Trail of Tears. You got the 5 civilized tribes, if I'm not mistaken, that's what it's called, and their war and their battle. You got the Seminole Indians and their war from Florida all the way up. You got all of that stuff that went on. And they were compensated. They were compensated. But here's what her argument is. She said, she challenged the interviewer when he challenged her about reparations. She said, "What you talking about reservations? Look what kind of deal that was. Have you ever been to a reservation?" He was like, "Well, yes, I have." And so his pushback was how they decided to use their money and spend their money. It doesn't mean that Black people are going to do the same thing. So he's pushing back against her and she's pushing back against him. And that one area, when it came to reparations, they locked heads. And when he said that this is a new world, we can't help how they chose to spend their money. Black people need to be given the opportunity that they need in order for them to do what they need to do for their people. And we can't compare it just because it didn't work for them. And that doesn't mean it didn't work for all tribes, because all of the Indian tribes are not created equal. The American Indian population is not a monolith. Some tribes are doing well with the casinos. It's not a monolith, right? But as he was pushing back against her, here's the trick bag right here. This is what y'all need to pay attention to, and then I'm moving on. She said, you are saying, when he said that, they got theirs, we got to get ours. She said, you are saying what pale-faced people have said to the natives. We got ours. Now you got to go get yours. She said, we have to treat everyone fairly. You cannot be a civil society as long as you are behaving in uncivilized ways. That is the trick bag, ladies and gentlemen, because what they do is when you say something, when you recognize that you have cornered them, when you recognize that you're like, baby, you got to account for this, they always gaslight us. They always find a way to flip it and turn it on us. Welcome to the community, DJ Queen Champion. Thank you for your support. Thank you for that donation, Sid. Let's see what Sid is saying. Brother Sid is saying, have you seen Hard Rock's Guitar Hotel in Florida? Yup. That is on Seminole Reservation in Hollywood. Yup, in Hollywood, Florida. That's reparations like a mother effer. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So she knows exactly that she went wrong there. You can't say we can solve this problem by paying blacks, but then quickly say, but then you got to pay Native Americans. That was stupid. That was stupid. And then gaslight the gentleman. She turns around and gaslights him. It says that he's saying the same thing that pale-faced people have said. So she's liking him to racist people. That's what she's doing. And then she turns around and says, you can't be a civil society when we're behaving in uncivilized ways. So now you're saying that the brother is uncivilized for that thought process? Oh, baby, no. That's right, Frankie. Frankie said that is exactly what Joe Biden said, too. That's what they do. And then they gaslight us. And see, the thing about gaslighting is the person who is being gaslighted, the victim, they're not aware that they are being emotionally abused until they are aware of it. And sometimes it takes years, and sometimes they never get it. Because the gaslighter will have you feel bad for standing up for yourself. The gaslighter will have you feel bad for setting boundaries. The gaslighter will make you feel bad for pointing out their bad behavior. And that's exactly what she did. That's right, Creole Sheila. That's exactly what she did. Truth Told said, what interview was that? I need to see that. That is, I said at the beginning, that is the Socks and Sandals podcast, episode 150. Go ahead and watch that whole thing. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. Go watch it. Thank you so much for that donation, William Money. They just don't want to pay. And she knows that. They don't want to pay. So you got to understand that her loyalty is always going to be to her people. And I'm not mad at her. My loyalty is to my people. It doesn't mean that we can't sit down at the table and have a conversation with each other. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that we cannot exchange ideas. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with them and they have to agree with us. Just remember where the loyalty lies. So when you're asking her to make a cold hard stance that goes against her people, she's not going to do it. She's not going to do it. He also asked her, what does she think that white people deserve? And you know what she said? Here's another thing. You got to listen to what she's saying. You got to listen to what she's saying. She said, if white people got what they deserve, they wouldn't be alive. So you recognize to the third degree the inhumane treatment that we have received, the injustice, but yet you are against reparations. You said if white people got what they deserve, they would not be alive. You recognize that, but you are against reparations. You recognize how they have destroyed Black families and Black family units and Black culture and traditions. You have erased our God-given names and replaced them. You have took away our language and replaced it. You have taken away our culture and replaced it. You have taken away our spirituality and replaced it. You have taken away our traditions and have replaced it. You understand that we were subjected to 3/5 of the human being for a very long time. You understand that we were burnt, we were beaten, we were raped, we were breeded. You breeded us. You understand that we have gotten the worst history, the worst treatment in history over a number of 400 years. 500 years, if you want to be honest. You understand what we were subjected to here in America, but you are against reparations. But we, as Black people, continue to put these people on pedestals. We continue to spread the message that they are so-called our allies and our friends because we don't want to deal with the truth. We don't want to feel alone. But I got news for you. We are not alone. We have each other. We just choose not to fully trust each other. Now, I'm not going to say that's all of us. It's not all of us. But in order for us to shake shit up and change things in our community, to change our conditions, we have to be the ones to fix it. And we're going to fix it by banding together, not by continuously supporting people who have shown their hands to us over and over and over again, and we keep making concessions for them. Right? We're making concessions for people who have demonstrated their implicit bias, their privilege, and their racist ideology. And because the package comes wrapped nicely, we keep getting fooled. It's just like if I put a bullshit necklace or a bullshit bracelet in a Tiffany's box, wrap it up in pretty paper, and put it in a Tiffany's bag and hand it to you. And you open the shit up and you see it's a piece of shit, but you're just happy that I thought about you and I gave you something. And you say, and you put it on, you say, this is nice. Thank you so much. This is beautiful. Oh my God. This right here. Oh, look at this. Oh my Lord. This is so beautiful. That was so nice of you. But in your head, you're like, this piece of shit. But you're going to wear it every day because your white friend gave it to you. You're not even going to look at it as an insult. That's what some of our people do. We okay with it. This is nice. Oh, that's nice. For a moment, you had me fooled. I thought you was giving me Tiffany. No, you had me fooled. But this is just as nice. This is nice. Meanwhile, your ass got Chanel jewelry in your goddamn box. You got Tiffany bracelets galore. You got Cartier. You got all these other Movado. You got all these other fancy shit that was worth more than a piece of shit that they gave you, but you praising that piece of shit. In fact, you take off your Chanel necklace and put on that piece of shit because your friend gave it to you and she's white. This is the stupid shit that we do. She said, whites got what they asked for. Here's another dog whistle. Whites got what they asked for. A country, here's the bullshit right here. This is how another gaslighting. This is gaslighting. Whites got a country split down the middle because people refuse to vote. Who's the people you talking about? I don't need for you to do games with me. People, give the people a name. Don't say they. Give they a name. Don't say them. This ain't no LGBTQIA language. Give it a name. We ain't no he, she, them, they. We ain't none of that. Give it a name. Who are you saying didn't vote? Be specific. Tell me what you're really thinking. She said it's terrifying. We don't have enough people to stand up against Trump. So this whole thing was really about that. This whole interview was really about that. Because if you really think about it, if you listen to the interview, ain't no way, shape, or form. I wrote the whole goddamn thing down. It did not follow order. It didn't line up. So how did we get to this conversation about voting? It did not line up. Then she says, we can change this. We can change this. Shit didn't add up. It didn't add up. So let's get on to the third part of today. I know this is a longer video, but I told you I only come on when I got something to say. So I thank y'all for being in it, this family. I thank y'all. It's a Friday night. What y'all doing anyway? Like Trump said, what got to lose? What do you got to lose by listening to me? You ain't got nothing to lose but everything in the game. What do you got to lose, right? It's a trick bag. We got to pay attention to these trick bags. So the third person, the third not person, but the third category I want to address is the Black community. Now, remember the title of this video was, let's talk about what Joe the bigot Biden, Jane Elliott, and the Black community have in common. Let's talk about the Black community. All right. The Black community has a codependent history with political people and white people of leadership and power that pretend to be our allies and friends. We have a codependent relationship. We have a codependent history. I asked you guys earlier what is the psychological term I'm going to use later on today, and a few of y'all got it right, and it was codependency. Now I'm going to point out the codependent history that started with Franklin D. Roosevelt. This is your history. Get your pen and paper. Franklin D. Roosevelt, followed by Harry S. Truman, and then with Lyndon B. Johnson. Those are the three presidential names that I want y'all to write down because that's where it started. Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Lyndon Johnson. Y'all need to write that down. Right? So we're going to talk about it. First of all, Black Americans and white Americans too, but you know my audience is Black Americans, and I know white people listen to me. You know, some people like me, some people don't, but I don't care. I'm talking to my audience. Black Americans are a community of low political expectations. Let's just be honest. I know some of y'all ain't going to like to hear this, but the truth is the truth. We are a community of low political expectations. Somebody is saying the Sage films. My son's name is Sage. It's saying not Bill Clinton. I said where it started at. See, we got to listen, people. We got to listen. I said the codependent history started with Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman, and Lyndon B. Johnson. Started with. It has to start somewhere. And that's where the codependency started. And if you understand the political history, then you would know that African Americans in this country, see, we all talking about the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Voting Rights. You got to understand that before that, the Voting Rights Act, we had that. We had that. It just was not being enforced. And during that time, before Franklin Roosevelt, we were Republicans. This is not going to be a long history because I want to stick with what I'm talking about. We were Republicans. Oh, some of y'all didn't know that. Some of y'all didn't know that. We were Republicans. And we had a strong political presence. If you look at our history and how we were movers and shakers politically before Franklin Roosevelt, we were strong. We even held cabinet positions. We had high political rankings. So we got to start asking ourselves, what happened? What happened? Now, I know what happened, but that's not this class right now, right? That's not this class right now. I know what happened, but we talking about right here. We talking about when the codependency started. This is the topic right now. I'm going to show you guys the codependency that we have, and that is the reason why we allow these Democratic people and liberals, white liberals, get away with bad behavior. And the two I decided to pick on today is Joe the Bigot Biden and Dr. Jane Elliott. I'm showing you guys how we allow these kind of people to get away with bad behavior, and we cloak it under the guise that they are for us. Codependency. We're going to talk about codependency. We're going to talk about it. So Black Americans, we have low political expectations in this day and age. Blacks seldom challenge or push back against the Democratic Party because for some reason, we have developed this ideology or this idea, this way of thinking that it's safer to be with the Democratic Party. It don't matter how many of us show you that it makes no difference. And I'm going to show you historically right now how it makes no difference. It don't matter that we show it to you guys. For some reason, we have this learned helplessness that we feel that we need a white savior. We need somebody to protect us. In all actuality, they're not protecting us. And anything that we ever gotten out of them is because we pushed their backs against the wall, whether they were Republican or Democrat. When we get together and we push back and we start playing chess and we tie up their hands and we get them and we check them, they have no other choice but to give us what the freak we're asking for, or they're going to lose an election. But for some reason, we have lost that fight. And we seem to think that they have our best interests at heart, despite the fact that history has not proven that. And what happened to us that we have gotten ourselves to a place that we are ignoring history? Codependency. Codependency. Historically, Blacks have protested unjust treatment, but most presidents, if not all, remain inactive on civil rights legislation. They have remained inactive for a very long time. Do not be mistaken that the civil rights legislation was also on the table of Franklin D. Roosevelt, and he breezed past it. But for some reason, we elected him. Franklin D. Roosevelt never supported the anti-lynching bill. The anti-lynching bill was on the table for a very long time because they were tearing our asses up, lynching us left and right, and nothing was happening. It was on the table. He's running for presidency. We know we're getting killed. We're asking for a law to protect us, and he ignored it, but we still voted for him. Thank you for that donation, Black Voltron. He says, okay, then, if we're all one race now, then let me hold that reparations paper, cousin. I hear that. B1 family, stand up. He ignored the anti-lynching legislation. He banned Black reporters from his press conferences. This is what FDR did. And he blamed it on the Southern white people for the reason why he couldn't let them in. But he wanted our vote. And we still voted for him. We pressed them on the lynching situation. And the only thing he did was offer a statement to condemn lynching, but never signed it into law. And we still voted for him. He was quoted by Thurgood Marshall. You guys know who Thurgood Marshall is, right? If not, Google it. This is not a Thurgood Marshall history class. He was quoted by Thurgood Marshall, who was on the other line listening into his phone call with somebody in his cabinet, where he told the person not to call him again regarding Eleanor, which is his wife, niggers. And we still voted for him. Look it up. Don't believe me. And he said, if you call me again about Eleanor's niggers, you're going to get fired. And we still voted for him. Why? Because the old age trick that is still being played on us now was played on us then. And what he had was a go-to Black woman. Do you know the go-to Black woman who fought for him? Just like we have Simone right now. Simone to tell you. Simone, and she ain't in this community, right? She ain't in this community. Like I told you, just because people are Black don't mean they're part of the community. She ain't part of the B1 community. But nonetheless, just like in this current day, we got little Simone. That's not what he meant. This is the best man we got right now. We're going to defeat Trump. We got to go for this man right now. They always have the big mouth Black woman. Do y'all know the big mouth Black woman they had at that time? With all due respect, do y'all know? There you go. Thank you, Eric Kennedy. See, I love y'all. Y'all some critical thinkers. Thank you, M. War. Thank you so much. That's right. Mary McLeod Bethune. Wasn't she like the founder of the HBCU or the president of the HBCU that's named after her? That was his go-to Black woman. And being associated with her helped him to appear more progressive, like he really was for the Black people. And he knew that that's what Black people needed to see was a Black face so that they would trust him. And that's why right now in 2020, Joe the Bigot Biden is being pushed to have what? A Black vice president, right? Because they want to try to strengthen the trust between Black voters. These are old games. But when you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat the same mistakes. Yes, William Austin. Yes, really. Yes, Mary Bethune. Absolutely. And isn't that the same game that's being played right now? And we keep falling for it. It helps Black people to feel more connected. It helped Black people to feel more connected to Franklin Roosevelt when he had that strategy. And guess what? Franklin Roosevelt brought about acts that was there to help all Americans, allegedly. And the reason why I say allegedly, because the acts like the Social Security Acts, y'all know what happened with the Social Security Acts, right? I want y'all to understand, they're always going to give you a little something. They're going to make it very vague, and then they're going to exclude you out of it. What happened with the Social Security Act? Come on, y'all. We are critical thinkers in this community. Come on. Okay, y'all taking too long to answer. I know some people's going to get it. But what happened with the Social Security Act? They gave the Social Security Act for all Americans, right? So you can get your Social Security, buy into the Social Security. But guess what they excluded? They excluded some categories domestic workers in agriculture. We were farmers during that time, and we were domestic workers. Black women were working in white women homes, and they excluded those categories. As opposed to saying we're excluding Black people, they excluded those categories from collecting Social Security. So it hurt us because we were the people in those categories. You got to understand that they're constantly playing games with us, but we keep giving them the vote. Thank you so much for that, Sid. So Sid says Lyndon B. Johnson got it done because he needed whites watching Black people while he picked white pockets to pay for his contractors' cost overruns in Vietnam. Oh, after the Vietnam thing happened, we're not there yet, but after the Vietnam thing happened, he decided not to run for second term because he knew that he was in a lot of trouble, because that's when Dr. King had switched up his language, but that's a whole nother conversation, right? So you got to understand the gains that we made under Franklin D. Roosevelt was not because of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The gains that we made was because of people like A. Philip Randolph. Whether you liked him or not, it was because of people like him who threatened Roosevelt to organize a march on Washington. It was people like him that said, we want the civil rights legislation for Blacks. We want this to happen. It was people like him that pushed that forced his hand. It was marching. And the truth is, it doesn't matter if it was Franklin Roosevelt or a Republican opponent. It doesn't matter. The minute we start pushing back, and the minute we start organizing, and the minute we start getting succinct and clear with our message and what we're asking for, we always push their hands. So the things that we're doing right now, so many people are afraid. So many people are nervous. Oh, what are y'all doing? Oh, Lord, we got to vote. Y'all just being stupid. Oh, Lord, y'all going to go ahead and y'all going to get this president. I can't have 4 more years of Trump. Those statements are coming from people who are ignoring history. And when you understand the political game that is being played, I don't give a flying F-U-C-K who's in office. Cut the goddamn check. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm just telling you the truth. Guess what he started to do? Guess what Franklin Roosevelt started to do when we started to push his hand? He signed the executive order, which is 8802, if I'm not mistaken. And that was the Fair Employment Practices Committee, because Black people were being discriminated against, and he signed that, and the Executive Order 9346 expanded upon it. Why? Because he knew that he wasn't going to get voted in. He knew that he was going to be in a lot of trouble because we was on it. We was on it. So it was a strategy. And as long as they feel like they're going to do good without you, as long as they feel like they can do good without your vote, they're going to ignore you. They're going to ignore you. Thank you for that donation, Nate the Great. He says, Shonna, I found your channel 2 weeks ago and I love your content. I think you should collab with African Diaspora News Channel because you two have similar views. I learned a lot from y'all. I'm 24, by the way. Much love, sis. Much love to you too. See, that's why you baby boomers are in trouble, because you guys are so disconnected from the younger generation. You're not speaking what they want to hear. These people are graduating from college and have no jobs. And they're still getting discriminated against in 2020. And they're tired. And they just begun. We've been on this earth for a while. We're biased. We're beat up. We're worn out. So guess who's capturing their attention? You guys are us. Because we're not afraid. We're at this point, like, what else do we have to lose? What else do we have to lose? You're killing our Black men. You're arresting our Black men. You're beating our Black children. You're disrespecting our Black women. You're throwing rocks in our community and hiding your hands, i.e. guns, violence, creating poverty. Because we know what happens when you strip a community of their resources and money. We know what happens when we strip a community of their dignity. What else do they have left but to kill each other? You're systematically destroying us What else do we have to lose? But they keep giving these little things and we keep falling for it. Right? Blacks didn't benefit from FDR's program no differently than whites have. There was nothing specific for Black people. The only thing FDR did was he had excellent public relations that would get into our minds and convince us to give him our votes with nothing in exchange. Anything we got out that man is because we fought for it. Anything we got out that man is because we had to threaten him. Anything we got out that man is because we had his back against the wall. And for some reason now, it's like they don't even have to have their backs against their wall anymore about us. Because the minute we try to push people back and get them against the wall, we always got the scared Negroes. Oh, what you guys doing? Oh, this is ridiculous. Y'all making the wrong decisions. Oh, our ancestors are turning over in our graves. Oh, Lord. No. Our ancestors are turning over in their graves because you guys have stopped fighting for what we need to fight for. Instead, y'all want to fight for the rights of everybody else, and we keep getting screwed. Oh, people of color. We people of color. Oh, we got to stand with our brown sisters and brothers. Oh, we got to represent the Asian community. Oh, we got to stand with the LGBTQ community. Oh, we got... Listen. Hear me and hear me correctly. I understand that all the other communities have issues that they have to fight for as well. I am not against those issues. I do to them just the same as they do to me. It is called the golden rule. Do unto others as you would want done to you. So they say, that's so terrible that's happening to Black people while they're eating their steak, taking care of their children in their safe communities, and we're getting plummeted over the head, and they're watching and say, what can I do to support you? $100 donation? Let me give $100. While we're getting murdered, arrested, and killed, and they're saying, I stand with my Black brothers and sisters in solidarity, while they go back to their nice community in safety, not sharing your post, not sharing your videos, not showing up at your rallies. Unless you're tearing shit up, then, the crazy ones show up. Not fighting against the discrimination that they see in the workplace that's happening to you. Instead, they're watching in disbelief and shock. And then they go out with you at lunch. And then they complain to you at lunch. But never do they stand up to the directors. Never do they stand up to the VPs. Oh, no, baby. It might be this many of them that do. But we're talking collectively. Do unto others as you would want done to you. So, yes, I have nothing but sincere sympathy. And I am so shocked at the mistreatment that some of them get. And I can write a donation. I can sit down at lunch with them as well and listen to them vent. And I can tell them that that is fucked up. That should not happen to you. And I can sincerely mean it. And I do sincerely mean it. I do. But just as they're focusing on them, I got to focus on my people. Because we are at war. And the target is us by everybody. Everybody exploits us. Right? I'm just saying. right? Let's talk about Harry S. Truman. You know, I'm glad you're in it tonight. It's a long show tonight. I apologize, sisters and brothers. I'm going to be out of here soon. But let's talk about Harry S. Truman. Harry S. Truman was an open racist. He was a previous KKK member. Don't believe me? Look it up. I'm not telling y'all no lie. He was a KKK member. But then when he started getting into this political realm, he was embarrassed about his affiliation. So what does he do? He does like they all do. He told a lie. And the lie was that he joined under duress because they threatened to kill him. There was no evidence about that. There was no facts about that. But that's all he had to say in order to gain people's sympathies. Whose sympathies? Especially Black people, just to gain their sympathy. Oh, I understand. He all right by Black folk. He good by Black folk. I think that was the message back then, if I'm not mistaken. He good by Black folk. I wonder if the Jewish population will have those same sentiments about a known Nazi who is running to be presidency over them. I wonder if the Jewish population who faced atrocities during the Holocaust, I wonder if they will vote in a known Nazi. See how crazy that sounds? You see how crazy that sounds? But this is what we do. This is what we do. But this is what we say. We say that Harry S. Truman was a good civil rights man. But we ignore the fact that his grandparents, not great-great-great-grandparents, but his grandparents were slaveholders. This is how our history of codependency started. His grandparents were slaveholders. And Harry Truman used the word nigger his whole entire life. And he never did a goddamn thing for Blacks without pressure. Never intended to. And when his position was threatened, he started to intentionally appeal to Black voters. When he was going to lose his position, that's when he started to appeal to Black voters. But we overlook all of that. And you know how he won? He won by simply releasing a document to secure these rights. And they were the blueprint to the civil rights legislation. With desegregation of the military and the elimination of poll taxes. The only thing he did was like a letter of intent. Now we know the civil rights didn't come under Harry Truman. The only thing he had to do was write a little letter of intent. And that's all he needed to do to win our vote. But guess who was on his ass too? A. Philip Randolph was on his ass. Right? And when he noticed that A. Philip Randolph was getting the attention of Black people as a whole, and it was getting him in a hot seat, he was getting in trouble. Guess what he strategically does, like they all do? He visited a popular, known Black community. Do y'all know what Black community he visited? Y'all need to know this kind of stuff. Do y'all know what community he visited? And let's talk about the embarrassment I felt reading this. He visited Harlem, New York. Now, you understand the history of Harlem, right? The Renaissance and stuff. If you understand, that's right, Sid, Harlem. If you understand, somebody said a church. No, it was even worse than going to church. He went to a community, and 60,000 people showed up in a 1 day's notice. A 1 day's notice, 60,000 African Americans showed up in Harlem. And it was dead silent. Do you know why it was dead silent? because they were praying for Harry S. Truman. They were praying. It was silence. Their heads were bowed. They were holding hands, and they were praying for him. Isn't that for a white savior? Isn't that for a white savior? We sick, people. We sick. And guess what? Harry S. Truman never ended lynching. He never ended lynching. And in his speech, he told nothing but lies. Never ended lynching. Never put a bill, a policy, a law in place to end lynching. But he got the vote. He got the vote. You see the codependency? Do y'all see where I'm going with this? Don't worry, I'm almost finished, family. Thank y'all for staying in here. I'm almost finished. We on to Lyndon B. Johnson, which is the last one. I'm going to point out from the history of how it all started. Lyndon B. Johnson. Now, he gets the credit from Black people for being the one to shepherd in the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Acts. He gets the credit. Not that he did it because he wanted to, but because his hands was tied. See, we only get progress when we push these motherfuckers' backs against the wall. That's when we get progress. But he gets the credit. The Civil Rights Act, or the Civil Rights Movement, I should say, was by Blacks. It was a movement orchestrated and carried out mainly by us. All right? And it was not because of any political allegiance. It's not because we was doing it for the Democrats or doing it for the Republicans. We didn't care who was going to give it to us. We just had a message. It was bold, and we was pushing back against the system as a whole. Pushing back. The Civil Rights Movement created a crisis. So Lyndon Johnson had a crisis on his hand. We was hurting the economy. We were shutting shit down. He had a crisis. He had white people mad at him. He had Black people mad at him. And he had to make a decision. That's right. Johnson was a stone racist. And guess what? Black people didn't care. Right? This is the same man who wrote a letter for his Black driver, and the letter said, "This nigger drives for me." And that letter, his driver was to carry around. Because if you understand, during those times of segregation, he needed his driver to be able to pick him up and bring him places. So the driver only had to show the letter that says that he was the nigger that drove for President Johnson. Thank you for that donation, Shani, who says, thank you for being a facilitator for critical thinking discussions. We have to have these discussions, sister. We have to. Right? So thank you for your support. This is what he wrote about his driver. And guess what? He too had a Black woman that became the face of this campaign. Do y'all know who that Black woman was? Now, I love her. She an ancestor. I love her. She's an ancestor. That's right, Rianne. He says, show me your papers still in effect. Absolutely. Now instead of saying, where's your paper, is you ain't got the right to be in this neighborhood. Let me see your ID. That's what they say now. What are you doing here? Let me see your ID. That's your new paper. There you go. Thank you, Gia Watson. Fannie Lou Hamer. Ain't we some critical thinkers? Thank you, M. War. Fannie Lou Hamer. And why did she become the face that made him look good? Because you know she was pushing hard body. She had many, many meetings with him. Many meetings pushing for the civil rights legislation, pushing. And he was just, you know, having conversation, yeah, brushing her along, and then she got beaten. Y'all all know that story, right? And first, the white police officers made black prisoners beat her, and then the white cops beat her. And then she got on TV because she had that access. So she got on TV and she's talking about the beating, and he jumped up because he wanted to not have anybody mad about this stuff, directed the news away from her onto him to talk about some bullshit that didn't matter. And then she went right back on the programming. They continue on the program after he had an emergency interruption of her programming. Look at propaganda, right? Emergency interruption. And then after it finished, they finished airing the rest of her interview that night. So she propelled it there. And after that, there was a lot of agitation of the liberation movement that brought about the Civil Rights Act, that brought about the Voting Rights Act, and brought about the Fair Housing Act. That did not come because we just gave them a vote and they gave us what we needed. It's because we fought. Thank you for that donation, Mr. Pirate Brain. He said Trump is one we need to push on reparations before the elections. You absolutely right. Because everybody else we talk to, even your favorite, the old man that spits a lot. What's his name? Because I'll never want to be in his face because he spits entirely too much for me, and he looked like his breath stink. I don't know if it stinks or not. I'm just telling you, he looked like his breath. You know, the one that he got your attention, the young people. What's the other one that was running? He dropped out. Bernie Sanders. You know, my brain be bad. He just looked like his breath stink. He be spitting when he talk. I be like, man, I don't know how people be standing in front of him. But look at how it went when we asked Bernie about reparations. I don't even know what that means. You know what that means? Stop playing with me. So my point is, I don't care who's in the chair. We got to be pressing them. We got to be turning up, man. Because it's only going to work when we turn up. We got to stop giving away our votes. It doesn't work that way. And everybody that they have promised to give us something, we just gave them the vote without having anything in writing, without having anything on paper. They never gave us anything. They went about their business like nothing happened. Thank God for people like A. Philip Randolph, whether you like him or not. Thank God for people like him who was not afraid to push back, who was not afraid to fight. He's been fighting since Dr. King was a little boy. He was not afraid to stand up. So what do we have in common? I already told you, codependency. And maybe we need to understand what that term means, psychologically, what that term means. So codependency is a learned behavior that is intergenerationally passed down. So the generation before us and the generation before them have taught us to be codependent on the Democratic Party. And now that you have those of us who's like, F your parties, we're not here for it. We're the new civil rights. We're about to fight and push back. We're making those who have been conditioned to be dependent very uncomfortable. And I had to really think about this because my mother was somebody who never voted. I think she may have voted once, if I'm not mistaken. And I think she voted for Reagan or Bush, the first Bush, not the son, the father. I think she only voted once in my lifetime. And she said, what difference does it make? I was poor under the Democrats. I'm gonna be poor under the Republicans. What difference does it make? That's what she said. That was her theory. And I gotta respect it. That's what she did. And here we are, 40 something years later, we still fighting for the same stuff. 40 something years later. Thank you for that donation, Herbert Whitehood. He said, thanks for a great history lesson that codependency best describes. I'm not even finished describing it, but you're right. Codependency is a learned behavior and it's passed down. So many of us, we don't even know why we do what we do. We just do it because it's been passed down to us through the generations, right? Codependency is also an emotional and behavioral condition. It affects the ability to have a healthy, mutually satisfying relationship. We do not have a healthy, mutual, satisfying relationship with the Democratic Party. We do not. Our history has never supported that. But it's an emotional behavior condition that is learned. And you know, another way you know that codependency is happening, because codependency is usually when the relationship is often one-sided. The only people that continuously win are the Democrats and white liberals. We get screwed constantly. The relationship is one-sided. One-sided. It's emotionally destructive and it's abusive. We have like this little dysfunctional family going on with being Democrats. It's dysfunctional. It's not serving our purpose. But for some reason, because of our own fear and our anxiety, we have convinced ourselves otherwise. Y'all know this is real talk because I ain't never on here 2 hours. I never talk to you guys for 2 hours. Thank y'all for standing there. We got over 900 people. Thank y'all for staying in there. You ain't got to agree with me. I'm just saying, listen and do your own research. You got to understand when you're operating out of fear. When you say stuff like it's the lesser of two evils, that's anxiety and fear talking. When you say, well, we got to vote for somebody, we got to vote for somebody, that's anxiety and fear talking. It's an emotionally abusive relationship. It is one-sided. It is dysfunctional. And it's learned behavior. You cannot break patterns until you become aware. That's what it is. People who are codependent, they suffer. They suffer emotionally. They suffer physically. They suffer mentally. They suffer from fear, anger. They feel the pain of their history, of the past, of the current day. They feel the pain. And they also suffer from shame. They know how to gaslight the hell out of us, making us feel bad, like they really did do something for us. Whatever you gave us, we fought for. You ain't do a goddamn thing for us. We are American citizens. You're not doing a goddamn thing for us. But they shame some of us into believing that they did. And you know, the number one reason why I know this is a codependent relationship that the Black community has with the Democrats and white liberals is because the Democrats and the white liberals know that the problem exists. They know what the problem is, and they know what it's going to take. You heard it from Jane Elliott. They know what it's going to take. What it's going to take to solve the problem, but they refuse to acknowledge the problem. And they gaslight us and they move around it. And when you refuse to acknowledge the problem never goes away. It doesn't get fixed. And we remain dependent upon them because we have hope that they are going to save us from our fear, our anger, our anxiety, our shame. We have hope that they're going to save us. The only people that are going to save us is us. Period. Period. Somebody said, what's the name of the book on the presidents? It is called Prejudicial. That would give you every last president in the United States of America that has ever existed and what they did not do for Black people. Presidential. You should get the book. It will break down even Obama. Don't worry, I will get there soon. But yeah, yes, Red. That is Dr. Margaret Kimberly's book. It's an awesome book. Very easy read. She highlights it, breaks it down. It's research based. You can look up everything. She has a little footnotes, her endnote numbers. You can go back. You can research it, pull documents, pull research papers, pull newspaper articles. You can pull it all. It is all documented, nothing but facts. I told you guys, no lies. But you won't hear it. Those who have ears, let them hear. Thank you for that donation, Ayana. She says, thank you, Dr. Shonna, for waking me up and making me smarter. Thank you so much. I can't make you smarter, baby. Only God can do that. But I can give you the resources, right? So you made yourself smarter because you had ears to hear. Yes, thank you, Deneen, for spelling it out. Prejudicial. Thank you so much. That's by Dr. Kelly. That's all I have for you guys, family. It's all I have. So the message for today's podcast, for those who were late, I just pointed out the gaslighting that has happened with Dr. Jane Elliott. I have pointed out the gaslighting that happened with Joe the Bigot Biden. I have pointed out the history between the three presidents where our codependency has started, and that is Franklin Roosevelt, that is Harry Truman, and that is Lyndon Johnson. That is where it all started. And now when you see what's happening between us, we continue to be codependent. We continue not to trust the Republicans. We continue to come with all these ideas that don't serve us, And the one thing we have to do is we have to get on board with our fight. Our fight is for reparations. Our fight is for policies and procedures that are designed to specifically protect us as Black people, period. Period. And until someone starts talking that language, B1 family, ADOS family, FBA family, y'all, Pan-African family, y'all know what the hell we got to do. My Nation of Islam family, y'all know what we got to do. No deal, no vote. As simple as that. For everybody else, you're just not my audience. Still love you. Have a great night.